It's the international break currently, so obviously we're seeing more outlandish football takes than usual to try and get clicks on pretty much every social media. Absolutely terrible debates, and I've got to be honest, I'm quite sick of it. And that isn't just exclusive to international debates, that's all year round. And just with football fans and what they're like in this modern day, it's so tiring and so boring, so let's talk about it. The first thing to address is the international break. I'm a content creator myself. There's many other content creators on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube that just saying ridiculous things to try and drive clicks to their account because they've got nothing better to say, because it's the international break. You can't talk about what's happened at United, what's happened at Liverpool, anything else like that, so you've got to have something to talk about. And to a degree, I do get that. But I'm seeing stuff on Twitter recently that Alan Shearer couldn't cut it in the Premier League in the modern day. Mohamed Salah and Marcus Rashford are better than Thierry Henry because they've scored in more big games against bigger clubs. That Phil Foden's better than Wayne Rooney. All this stuff. And I'm just sat there scratching my head, literally like I am right now, and just thinking, what kind of space have we become? What's the point in having discussions with people? What's the point of putting your thoughts out there and having stuff that you think about and care about when this stuff is what people are talking about on the timeline? It makes no sense to me. And to be honest, it has actually killed a little bit of my enjoyment for football, because now you can't enjoy anything. You can't just think, we've got a great team, we've got this player and team in, because then on Twitter the next day or TikTok the next day, they'll be getting compared to a rival team's player, a Liverpool player, a Chelsea player, a Real Madrid player. He wasn't as good as this guy, wasn't as good as that guy. Let's look at his stats. Let's pull up his F-breath. And it's just so boring. And the funniest thing about it is these people that spout this bullshit consistently and use it to drive clicks to their platform have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. I feel like there's certain accounts on Twitter nowadays and TikTok where people, if they just speak with a certain tone or a certain demeanour, they're kind of respected as someone who's got great ball knowledge, when in reality all they're spouting is bullshit. They're looking at stats, they're looking at highlight reels. They never saw that player. They don't know what they're talking about. But a 14-year-old kid on Twitter's seen it and thinks, oh, well, that's the right opinion, let's slap that up. And then it's just infesting people's minds and people's brains when it comes to football. It's like the whole stats versus eye test thing. You can pull up that Henry's got less goals against Man United than Mohamed Salah does. He's got less goals against Liverpool than Marcus Rashford does. How about you use your eyes to judge football players? I miss the days where you could watch a football game and just objectively sit there and think, that was fucking mint. He's quite good, isn't he? I enjoyed watching that today. Rather than looking at stats all the time and using that as a metric to compare everyone. Stats are used so heavily now in modern football debates and content creation, and 99% of the time they just aren't relevant. Yes, there's certain stats that you can pick for a debate that make sense, but I remember a few years ago I saw that Grant Hanley had more tackles than Harry Maguire in the Premier League. Does that make him a better defender? Of course it fucking doesn't. And look, it's not like I'm comparing, Pele and Ched Evans, I don't know why. Pele and Federico Makeda or something like that here. But you need to use them for certain debates and make it relevant, and people just don't do that. And the main thing is, and people won't want to admit this, they have agendas and they have biases. And these in-the-know people and these people who have ball knowledge, who appear on certain podcasts and certain TV channels on social media that I won't call out because we're past that age now, it's not 2016, are intrinsically biased. But because of the way they handle themselves, the way they put themselves across, the way they talk about things, and their unwillingness to admit that they're as biased as every other football fan who's sat on Twitter reading their stuff is, it just infests their opinion. But they won't admit it, and people won't see that. And that's what really, really annoys me, man. And not only that, trying to have a debate on Twitter or TikTok nowadays about football is just utterly pointless, because if you're speaking to someone who's 14, 26 or 46, the debate is just stupid. You could raise one argument, they'll raise one that's got absolutely nothing to do with it. They'll just say something utterly ridiculous. And I feel like this is the way the football community is going now with these modern fans, that you just can't make a point and then sit back and think, like you used to do, you know what, that's a valid point, I agree with that, I'm going to counter it with this. Or, do you know what, I was wrong, you were right. You don't get any of that nowadays. It's just nag, snipe, just completely biased and unvalid points, and there's just no point even having a debate. I used to make football TikTok content and stuff on Twitter to have these debates. It wasn't a part-time job. It wasn't something that made me money when I started it. I do it for the love of it now still, of course, but especially then. And I used to like having football debates with people, discussions with people, and put a piece of content out there or a tweet out there, and then want to get other people's opinions and have a normal, valid discussion discussion, but that just doesn't happen anymore, and it's just sad to see. Like, take yourself back. I'm 26. Take yourself back to when, if you were similar age to me, you were 12, you were 13, you were 14. You'd watch football, you'd chat about it with your dad, with your family, with your mates, when you get a bit older, going down the pub and stuff like that, and just have normal football chat and just enjoy the game for what it is. And it really doesn't feel like you can do that anymore, because you have to pay attention to all these stats, because all these bullshit opinions that get thrown at you. You can't just sit there and enjoy your game of football anymore and just objectively say someone or some team is quite good. And comparison really is a thief of joy as well. Like I said earlier, say Mohamed Salah, right? I say to a Liverpool fan, Premier League Ronaldo is better than Premier League Salah. They can't just sit there and accept that opinion or think, you know what, we've still got one of the best wingers the Premier League's ever seen. He's won everything at the club when he's been here. It's a massive dynasty from the club. It's been a golden age at my football club. They'll still argue the toss. They'll still argue the point. They'll still tell you you're wrong. And it's just so boring. And I'm part of the problem. I admit that, because I think the amount of people that are content creators these days and how easy and accessible it is to make content, it just saturated the space with so many opinions and so many debates and so many arguments that people are having to say stupid things to be original. People are having to say outlandish things to get views. We've seen it on TikTok for years now. It's the exact same thing on Twitter as well. And I'm part of that problem. I don't necessarily subscribe to that and do it. I think I always relatively stay true to myself and make the content I want to make and don't change my opinions on what views it's going to get me. But I remember back in the day when I started consuming football content consistently online, you had the likes of your full-time Devils, your kickoffs, even just True Geordie before that, the odd Rory Jennings video, the odd AFTV video, and then you've got the upper echelon stuff like your Gary Nevilles, your Jamie Carragher's, your Sky Sports. I was going to nearly say BT or TNT, but that would be ridiculous because that is more dog water than this content that I make right now, to be honest, even on their budget. But it's like nowadays everyone has to make their own lane. Everyone has to say something ridiculous. Everyone has to say something outlandish to get views or to get people to notice them. I don't feel like there's many people or many, even if you're not trying to make a name in the space, that can just say something honestly and just have a normal argument. I'll use the word argument because you can have a civil argument and disagree with someone and it'd be a bit heated, but it doesn't always have to be biased. It doesn't have to be mean. It have to be throwing words at each other. You don't have to say shit that's not relevant, but it doesn't happen anymore because this is the way the space has gone and this is the way that social media has took it. Like, I don't want to go on Twitter anymore and have a conversation with someone about football because they'll just throw something ridiculous at me. I don't want to go on a TikTok video that, yeah, I might have made a video of a wrong opinion in it. I've done it loads of times, but I still can't have a normal, rational discussion with 99.9% of people in the comments of my videos. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand where people get their enjoyment from football anymore. It's like everything has to be compared and everything has to be better than this and what I've got's better than you. And comparison is a thief of joy. And I don't think anyone can be happy. Like, Man City fans have just come off the back of winning their treble, but they'll still get more annoyed about that than more happy than they were. They'll get more annoyed at a stupid football opinion than they were happy about winning stuff like that. And it's just really weird to me. It's like it's really hard to explain, but I'm hoping some people understand it because this kind of, the way this is going now, it's driving me away from TikTok. It's driving me away from Twitter. It's driving me away from having these football-based discussions because I don't see any value in them. All it does is I finish work, I go on Twitter, and it just turns my brain into more mush than it already is after a long day. And I just sit there and think, what's the point in bothering with this shit anymore? Do you know what I'm trying to say? And the final point I'll make on this, and the final example, is with the Thierry Henry stuff recently on Twitter where people saying he was overrated and not that good. People did use stats that weren't valid at all, yes, but some people genuinely hold that opinion, and 99% of people that hold that opinion weren't there to watch him, don't know enough about him, weren't alive when he played, weren't alive or remember seeing him in his prime or at all playing football for Arsenal, Juventus, Monaco or Barcelona, but they'll still give their opinion anyway because that's how it's gone now. People will give opinions based on nothing. They've got absolutely no information on the topic, know nothing about it, and there's people way more qualified than them to talk about something, but they'll do it anyway and act like they know what they're on about, and it just makes no sense to me. If you're 15 and I'm telling you Henry was brilliant, he was brilliant, take that opinion. It's held in high regard and loads of people have that opinion for a reason. If your dad's telling you that Maradona was brilliant, it's because he was. If your granddad or great-granddad's telling you that Pele was brilliant, it's because he was. All these common opinions are held because 99.9% of the time they are true, and you don't need to question it. If you don't know anything about the topic, just don't speak on it. It is that simple. The football space and football Twitter and football TikTok and YouTube and everything would be a much better place if people only spoke about what they were qualified to speak about. And if they didn't know about something, just leave it there. Just leave it to the side and let people that know about it talk about it, rather than giving your unqualified, shitty opinion that no one asked for. And I think if we all did that, the football space would be a much better place for everyone and way more enjoyable. So there you go. That's my second YouTube video now. We're going to ramp this up. We're going to keep them going. Let me know your thoughts on this little discussion I've had with you guys and my little points that I've made in the comments below. And if you think I'm wrong, I will listen to your points and take it on my chinny chin chin, because I'm not a child and I can do that. And I hope you can too. So there you go. Subscribe if you're new. Drop a like if you enjoyed. And for the very second time, you've been watching a Dill's Footy Ramble YouTube production, and I'll see you in a bit.